It's the real news. I'm Aaron Mate. President Trump says the U.S. is pressing Saudi Arabia for answers on the fate of missing journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
This is a bad situation. We cannot let this happen. To reporters, to anybody, we can't let this happen. And we're going to get to the bottom of it, okay? But you may want to speak to the First Lady's office about the... I'd rather not say, but at a very high level, the highest level. Let me say this, it's the highest level, okay?
Khashoggi entered the Saudi embassy in Turkey last Tuesday to obtain a document he needed to get married. He has not been seen since. Turkish officials say they believe he was killed by a team of 15 Saudis, a hit squad, they say, who flew into Turkey for that purpose. According to the New York Times, Turkey believes one team member brought a bone saw to dismember Khashoggi's body after killing him. Saudi Arabia has denied any involvement in Khashoggi's disappearance, but it has not provided any evidence that shows where else Khashoggi might be. And although the White House now claims to be demanding answers, new questions are being raised about the U.S. role. The Washington Post reports a quote, before Khashoggi's disappearance, U.S. intelligence intercepted communications of Saudi officials discussing a plan to capture him. The Saudis wanted to lure Khashoggi back to Saudi Arabia and lay hands on him there, unquote. In Washington today, a group of supporters gathered to demand answers on Khashoggi's disappearance. Among the speakers was Code Pink co-founder Medea Benjamin.
I knew Jamal and actually was critical of him for not being more critical of the Saudi government. We had some very wonderful exchanges, and my heart goes out to his family and everybody who knew and loved him. Of course, we want to believe he's still alive, but I don't believe it. I believe that he is dead. And you know why? Because I know what the Saudi government is capable of. And I want to denounce the Western democracies for their hypocrisy and their enabling of Saudi behavior for so many years now.
Joining me is Ali Al-Ahmed, founder and director of the Institute for Gulf Affairs. Welcome, Ali. First, let me ask you if you could speculate, what is your sense of the fate of Jamal Khashoggi right now? Do you think he is still alive, or do you think the Saudis have indeed killed him?
Until this morning, the messages I've been getting, that he was alive. But today, by the end of the day, I've heard people who have seen a video of him being killed. That video was taken by his Apple watch. So, and that was streamed to his iPhone, which was outside the consulate at the hand of his wife. And then they were able, the Turkish authority were able to unlock the phone and see the video, the gruesome video. So we have confirmation from people who said they were shown the video by the Turkish police. So
Ali, this is a very explosive claim. You've spoken to people who say that they have seen video that was beamed from his watch showing his murder. Who are these people you've spoken to?
This is an editor of Turkish government TV, and I have his recording saying that this is what happened, and that this is confirmation that Mr. Khashoggi has been killed, and it shows the actual murder. And it will be aired.
And you spoke to this, and you spoke to this editor personally?
No, I didn't speak to this editor personally, but I have his recording. I know that the recording came. He sent it to a group of friends that I am, and one of them sent it to him. So he knows one of my friends who he sent the broadcast to his friends, and we have a common friend who sent it to me. So, and I have it in my phone, so I'd be happy to send it to you. And you can check with him. He has the Twitter account and maybe email as well.
Okay, well, until we get confirmation from Turkish authorities, from Saudi Arabia, obviously it's best to...
This is a government television. It's the Arabic TRT station.
Okay, well, then I've missed that report on Turkish television. So let me ask you...
Not a report yet. This is, like I said, this is the director of Turkish Arabic TV, and he sent it to his friends. One of them and WhatsApp is a friend of mine who sent it to me, and I have it. I'll be happy to send it to you, and you can talk to the gentleman himself and authenticate it.
Okay, so as we await confirmation, public confirmation from the Turkish government, let's just talk about what is going on here. No matter what happened to Jamal Khashoggi, why do you think he was targeted? Some people call him a critic of the Saudi government or a dissident, but that's not quite accurate. He actually was close to the Saudi royal family, worked for them. He expressed some concerns about freedom of expression in Saudi Arabia, but he was not a harsh critic of the regime, as I understand it. Can you talk about what he did, and why do you think the Saudi government came after him?
Jamal Khashoggi has been always a loyalist until he came back. He came or ran away and fled to the United States. So he was a loyalist, and even after he left, he was speaking on TV and saying that he has his allegiance to King Salman, but he was critical of the conditions that Mohammed bin Salman, the son and the crown prince, was making the country go through. So he's a loyalist, and he's a man who made his career being a loyalist to the Saudi monarchy. So his career was built on that. He was an advisor, he was a diplomat in Washington and in London. He worked with the Saudi intelligence in the 80s on this organizing and recruiting fighters against the Soviet Union at the time. So he has a long history of loyalty. That is actually exactly what made it worse for him, because the Saudi monarchy does not accept anything but absolute loyalty without any shred of hesitation. And because he kind of departed from that, he's loyal to the king, and maybe sometimes in a very awful way, to be honest, because he spoke about what he called I have an allegiance, a loyalty to the king. But then he criticized his son for his behavior and policies, because at this time we are not slaves and masters anymore. So that term is kind of abhorrent to me. Anyway, so because he is from within the ranks of the monarchy or their proxies, it was important for the Saudi government to send a message to their followers, to their loyalists, that you cannot emulate Khashoggi, you cannot break with us and turn your back against us, because we will punish you harshly. And that is exactly, I think, the plan. The message was clear. There is no need to send 15 people to kill one man. That way, one man could have done it, and even getting rid of the body, they don't need a lot of help. But this was a message. This is like executing your opponent in the street, so the population are scared. Exactly. This is what they are doing here. And again, he was not a dissident. He was actually critical of dissidents, much more than he was critical of the government. And he was sometimes hostile to dissidents, including myself. But that does not excuse his execution or kidnapping. It's unfortunate, especially for his family.
Let's talk about the message that the U.S. is sending here. So you have this report now in the Washington Post claiming that U.S. intelligence intercepted Saudi Arabian officials talking about a plan to lure him back to Saudi Arabia and lay their hands on him, as the Post says there. Does not seem, there's no indication that Khashoggi was warned about this by U.S. officials. And then after his disappearance, you have initially a very muted response from the White House. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo put out a call for the Saudis to investigate it, sort of a mild call for the alleged kidnappers to investigate their own kidnapping. You had Trump today saying that he's speaking to Saudi Arabia officials at the highest levels. What do you make of the Trump administration's response so far?
I think I'm actually surprised that this is, I've been here long enough to see this before. This is the highest and the strongest reaction to incidents or crimes committed by the Saudi government ever. So, in that field, when it comes to comparison, this is the most widespread from the administration and from Congress and the media, obviously. Previous violations did not, although they are much more abhorrent, they did not receive such attention under the Obama or the Bush administration. Just look at the war in Yemen a few weeks ago, last month, when the Saudis bombed deliberately the spouse of 40 Yemeni children. The U.S. administration actually sided with Saudi Arabia and did not have this. So this is a stronger reaction. And I think there is something here. I have no idea what it is. Maybe it has to do with the fact that Mr. Trump is saying you have to pay to the Saudi king. And this may be yet another way of pushing the Saudis. It might not be a genuine escalation on Saudi Arabia to truly improve human rights. After all, the United States has been supporting and protecting the Saudi monarchy for nearly 60 years, and it has ignored totally the violation of human rights, including the religious freedom for even Americans in Saudi Arabia, and the women driving the last country in the world, and the lack of cinemas and basic freedom and so on. So this is, I think, has been the strongest reaction. I know some people don't see it that way, but that's the reality.
Ali, let me go to that clip you mentioned of Trump speaking about the Saudi king. He said this last week at a rally.
Protect Saudi Arabia. Would you say they're rich? And I love the king, King Solomon, but I said, King, we're protecting you. You might not be there for 2 weeks without us. You have to pay for your military.
That's President Trump speaking at a recent rally. So, Ali, finally, there's talk now of this incident marking a change in U.S.-Saudi relations. Do you think, if it is officially confirmed that Jamal Khashoggi has been killed, do you think that change will happen?
I doubt it. I hope so, but I doubt it. I don't think it will happen, because I think the relationship is dependent on maintaining the domination of the country and its resources by the United States. If Mohammed bin Salman is starting to grow his own wings and refusing to pay, as Mr. Trump put it, maybe then there will be extremely increasing pressure. Let's remember the U.S. government overthrew an elected secular liberal Democrat that in Iran in 1953. So this is nothing new. So it's not about how horrible you treat your people, it's how good you treat the American regime, how well you're willing, how much you're willing to pay and spend your money buying weapons or conducting or supporting U.S. policies in the region. And that has been the factor that the U.S. has used to evaluate its allies and foes in the region.
All right, so we'll leave it there. I just want to go back to what Ali said at the beginning of this interview, this claim that there is Apple Watch footage of the killing. Again, nothing is confirmed yet publicly from the Turkish authorities, so we need to be cautious. There is a report on the Middle East Eye that cites a Turkish source saying that Turkish police have audio and video evidence of the killing, but it does not name the source or identify what is the nature of that supposed audio and video evidence. And the Middle East Eye also makes reference to Turkish police looking at the Apple Watch worn by Khashoggi being synced to his wife's phone. So we will await confirmation again from the Turkish police on the outcome of their investigation and whether or not these reports of there being audio and video evidence being correct. My guest has been Ali Al-Ahmed. He is the founder and director of the Institute for Gulf Affairs. I'm Aaron Nate for The Real News.